Today we are going to install the new Turn Off-Road Ford Bronco RR1 M2 2-door roof rack. This rack fits the 2021 and newer Ford Bronco 2-door models. Installation time is around 60 minutes. Can be installed by yourself, but easier with a friend. With a difficulty level of beginner. You will need this list of tools to get the job done properly. So, gather all these tools, and let's start this installation. Let's start by pre-assembling the main rack framework before moving on to the vehicle. The main framework consists of the 3 middle trusses shown here. The front rack mount, shown here. And one of 2 rear rack mounts, shown here. Begin with the 3 middle trusses. Each truss gets end plates, channel bolts, nuts and washers. Slide 2 channel bolts into the ends of each truss. Then, install the end plate so it slides over the bolts and covers the end of the truss. Next, install the washers and nuts and tighten them all down with a 10 mm socket. Now, continue this process to the remaining truss mounts. The trusses should look like this when completed. Next, you will be installing cage nuts into many of the rack mounts, trusses, and cross members. But first, you will install them into the front rack mount and the rear, main rack mount. Start on either end of the rack mount, and begin inserting the cage nuts into the square holes in the mount. Install them into the holes from the back side, as shown here in the examples. The cage nuts snap into place fairly easily, but for the stubborn ones, you may need to bend the tabs a little, or use a flathead screwdriver to push them into place. The front angled rack mount takes 10 cage nuts. 2 at each end, and 6 across the rail. Next, grab the rear main rack mount that looks like this one here. Then, install a total of 14 cage nuts, along the mount as shown in these clips. There will be 4 at each end and 6 along the front side of the mount. Then, don't forget to install the 4th nut at each end. Its location is somewhat hidden under the top side of the mount and over the padded footing shown here. Now, grab the second rear rack mount and install 8 cage nuts. There will be 3 at each end, and 2 in the slotted holes on each side of the mount. There is no need to install 1 in the middle slotted hole as it won't be used here. Next, grab the 3 trusses that you pre-assembled earlier, take one of them, and lay it out between the front and rear rack mounts, as shown here. Set the middle truss in place, and install 2 supplied 5 mm bolts and washers at each end, and tighten down. Now, set the 2 outside trusses in place, as shown here. Again, grab the 5 mm hardware, and install 2 at each end of the trusses, and tighten down. Now, flip the rack over and install the 2 foam rubber foot pads to the rear rack mount. Cut the padding in half, peel the sticky backer, and stick in place. These will protect your roof from getting scratched. Next, remove the front factory mount covers and set aside. Then, using a 10mm socket, remove the 2 nuts, then the cover base plate, and set them aside. Now, it's time to set the roof rack in place. You can do this by yourself, as it is light enough, but it's much easier with the help of some extra hands. Set the front mounts over the factory studs and slide into place. Then, reinstall the 4 10mm nuts and tighten down. Next, grab the 2 side mounting plates, and install the supplied foam rubber padding on the underside, as shown here. Then, slide the plates into place, one on each side, in the rear mount position. Now, line up the holes and install a 5mm bolt, finger tight, as shown here. Repeat this step on the other side. Once lined up on the roof, tighten each side down. If you haven't already, tighten down the front mounts. Next, set the second rack mount in place as shown. Then, place these 2 truss plates from one rack mount to the other as you see here. Line them up where they work best for you, and install the 5mm hardware, finger tight. Notice, there are 4 cage nuts, installed in the slotted holes, to mount these plates. Next, let's install the final cage nuts. Grab the front wind diffuser cover and install 6 cage nuts, 3 on each side, as you see here. Then, grab the 2 cross-member rails, and install 2 cage nuts at each end as shown. Now, to protect your paint from the metal diffuser, grab the rubber stripping, and mold it around the bottom edge of the diffuser, like shown. Take a knife or box cutter and remove the excess. Next, pick up the diffuser and set it in place over the front rack mount. Then, install the inside top bolts to hold in place, finger tight. You can tighten them now, but may have to loosen for next steps. Next, set the 2 cross-member rails in place over the trusses as shown. Then, install 2 channel bolts per truss, and slide them into place as you see here. Now, align each cross member over the truss bolts, and space them out equally. Install the 10mm acorn nuts, and tighten them finger tight. Next, pick up a side rail and set it in place on the roof rack. Then, align the holes, and install all the top, side, front, and back 5mm bolts, finger tight. The diffuser alignment may take a little persuasion, but once the holes line up, finish installing the bolts. Repeat this step on the other side. Now, go bolt by bolt throughout the whole roof rack, and tighten everything down. Congratulations, that completes your Turn Off-Road, 2-door, roof rack installation. This roof rack was designed and tested with strength and profile in mind. It provides enough strength to mount a full-size rooftop tent, and is designed to be sleek to keep wind noise down. The front of the rack has universal mounting holes for an LED light bar, or individual lights, and the side pieces have convenient cutouts, for the hook of a tie-down strap. Whether you are camping, on the trail, or in the city, the low profile and high strength of this rack will get you, and your gear, where you need to go. Until your next Turn product install, be safe out there. If you have any questions during your product installation, don't hesitate to contact us via phone or email. We are here to help.